Hey guys, it's Ahmed. Welcome to another episode of the Ahmed's Voice Digital Journal. We are going to beginning kind of a running book review. The book we're reading right now, Grace in All Simplicity. This is a book written by Robert N. Kahn and Chris Higg. Full title, Grace in All Simplicity, Beauty, Truth, and Wonders on the Path to the Higgs Boson and the New Laws of Nature. I'm still very much in the beginning of this book. I picked it up a couple of weeks ago at UC San Diego at the library. Me and the kids were looking at some books, picked up a couple. I started reading another book. The last podcast episode you see, I started that book about AI, but it really wasn't holding my attention, and this is the one that I really wanted to get into. I think this is a really good book. Very fascinating. It is, again, kind of like about how we got to the point where we are with the Higgs boson and CERN, and how we are getting down to the God particle, but it actually takes you back in time to the beginnings of everybody who was trying to really get to atomic power, really trying to break down what the building blocks of the universe can be, was. These are the questions that come into it when you really start studying this. And so that's why I appreciate this book, as it's taking you back in time to really figure out how we got here we are now at CERN with the Higgs boson, as we are trying to break down what are the building blocks of reality. I don't think there's any other quest for man to have than to figure out what is at the end and beginning and middle point of his creation, right? Mankind, period. I think that's what we are, born to find out. How would we not, with the cerebral capacity and curiosity that we have, how would we not try to figure out to get to the building blocks? And this is going to sound crazy, but to me, aliens, angels, magic, science, it's all the same thing to me. I just think different civilizations have got to it in different ways. And I think we are, we're messing around with nature. We're messing around with trying to find other dimensions who have already found us, or maybe we found them. I mean, it's stated at CERN that when they did fire up the Hadron Collider, that there are entities that cross in between these dimensions. So who knows? Who knows what the next ball, the next shoe to drop in this drama that we live here right now. Everything's on the table. Aliens, other dimensions. It's all there. So I would advise you to just keep your head on a swivel, keep your thoughts circumspect, sober, and constantly be studying your environment and how the world is changing on a global level. Don't get so caught up. I know you get caught up on your everyday, but really look at how your society is changing and realize it's a fascinating time. We are on the edge of where we are changing every system we know, and humanity's taking another step, whether it's forward or backwards. We will see. But that is kind of where we are in this one passage I want to read and share with you today about Grace in All Simplicity, as we are, again, very early stages of the book, but we are talking about a researcher by the name of Sadi, and he had a book that he wrote called The Interpretation of Radium in 1909. Now, we just got finished coming off a Hollywood high the last couple of years with Oppenheimer, which kind of put the Manhattan Project and the atomic bomb back in the forefront of our thoughts. And every time we think of atomic power, we're only thinking of energy, and we're only thinking of weaponry. But these people were really trying to get to the bottom line of what made society click. What made the existence click? How do we get to the building blocks, the particles of what we are made of? And I think that's what's great about this book, is that it's looking at those who are researching the atom, not just for weaponry or for energy, which of course are going to be byproducts, but really just trying to figure out what were the building blocks, or what are the building blocks that we live in. Again, we are talking about this gentleman by the name of Frederick Sadi. And before I go on, don't forget, give me a follow at Substack. That's where I'm doing all of my writing, posting. That's where this podcast originates from. If you are listening on Spotify or watching on Spotify and YouTube, I greatly appreciate it. But go ahead and follow me over on Substack as well. Something different on every platform. You can also follow me at Ahmed's Voice. I greatly appreciate it. But getting back into this section where we're talking about Frederick Sadi, and we're talking about a chapter from his book. In fact, the final chapter from his book, called Interpretation of Radium in 1909. And again, as we're always talking about, we've looked at the atomic race always in a race of energy and of weaponry, which that is true. Again, these scientists were trying to find what were the building blocks of life. I mean, if we think about space travel now, we're not going to get anywhere. It's going to have to be coming up with some type of warp drive where we bend reality and we're able to actually fold time and get to another point where we need to be to. We're not traveling anywhere, but I digress. But there's an interesting thing here. As we were talking about Oppenheimer, I'll come back to that, but I'm going to read just two paragraphs from this book about Frederick Soddy. In the enthusiastic final chapter of his popular account of their discoveries, The Interpretation of Radium, Soddy tried to imagine the implications of the newly recognized stores of energy. He compared this moment in history to the time when primitive man first noticed but had not yet mastered the energy liberated by fire, and imagined how the world would be changed if humans could learn to kindle the radioactive flame. Radium, Soddy wrote, he taught us there is no limit to the amount of energy in the world available to support life, save only the limit imposed by the boundaries of knowledge. But he cautioned a single mistake had the potential for indefinitely disastrous consequences. He even ventured that a past calamity in which the knowledge of the atom was imprudently used might possibly account for the fall of man. I'll stop there before I go on. So we see as Soddy knows that they are looking for this energy, they are looking for these particles, but that comes with the price, and that price could be the destruction of mankind. I mean, we live on the edge of that every day. We live in this binary existence, fractal existence. There's good, there's bad, there's hot, there's cold, there's light, there's dark, there's life, there's death. And so we are on the edge of that every day. Like we live in an interstellar shooting gallery. What Soddy is quoting here is that to deal with these energies is not only to court life and energy, but it is also possible to court combustion and death and destruction. But that is what we have to live by, right? Like we have to live by life and death exist right next to each other and are just that far apart. So that's basically where we are in everything that we do. But it is interesting that as we think about, even on the side where we talk about the Manhattan Project, and of course the quote that everybody hears from Oppenheimer is that I become Shiva, I now have become death. And that's what the destruction and the creator are. They are the same. They are in one. One energy creates, the other energy takes away. With the same sword they knight you, they're going to get knight you with. And so I think that's what Soddy is saying is the reality and the danger as we're looking for this particle that is our existence. We could actually take ourselves out, but that's kind of what we're here to do. We'll continue. Soddy's prophetic vision of a civilization with limitless possibilities poised on the brink of catastrophe resonated with both the optimistic faith in technology and the reformist zeal of H.G. Wells. In The World Set Free, written a year before the start of the Great War and dedicated to the interpretation of radium, Soddy's credentials became Wells' statements of historical fact. Coulds were replaced by dids. Wells put 1933 as the date when mankind would learn how to speed up the natural processes of radioactivity and trap the energy within the atom to light a great city, to drive the wheels of industry, to power aircraft, and inevitably to explode devastating weapons. The threat that a world war fought with atomic bombs would end the civilization was an ideal vehicle for Wells' campaign for a world government. So H.G. Wells was understanding what was going on. Everybody understood what was going on and searching for this energy, even though there were great aspirations, is always a danger when dealing with new energy and a new way to power mankind and to power life. And that's just where we live at. And again, I think this book is really great because it is going down the path of atomic energy research from those who were really from the beginning trying to find the God particle or the foundations or limits or boundlessness of our existence. I'll read a little bit more. I'll get back at you next time. Again, go ahead and give me a follow at Ahmed's Voice, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and of course on Substack. I appreciate it. Give me a follow. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I will talk to you again soon on Ahmed's Voice. digital journal.